Okay, but take note. You have to do that. Okay, Secretariat, take note. Page 1779, 1780, 1781, 1782, 1783, 1784, 1785, 1786, 1787, 1788, 1789, 1790, page 1791, 1792, 1793, 1794, 1795, 1796, 1797, 1798, 1799, 1800, page 1801, 1802, 1803, 1804, 1805, 1806, 1807, 1808, 1809, 1810, page 1811, 1812, 1813, 1814, 1815, 1816, 1817, 1818, 1819, 1820, page 1821, 1822, 1823, 1824, 1825, 1826, 1827, 1828, 1829, 1830, page 1831, 1832, 1833, 1834, 1835, 1836, 1837, 1838, 1839, 1840, page 1841, 1842, 1843, 1844, 1845, 1846, 1847, 1848, 1849, 1850, page 1851, 1852, 1853, 1854, 1855, 1856, 1857, 1858, 1859, 1860, page 1861, 1862, 1863, 1864, 1865, 1866, 1867, 1868, 1869, 1870, page 1871, 1872, 1873, 1874, 1875, 1876, 1877, 1878, 1879, 1880, page 1881, 1882, 1883, 1884, 1885, 1886, 1887, 1888, 1889, 1890, Page 1891, 1892, 1893, 1894, 1895, 1896, 1897, 1898, 1899, 1900. Page 1901, 1902, 1903, 1904, 1905, 1906, 1907, 1908, 1909, 1910. Page 1911, 1912, 1913, 1914, 1915, 1916, 1917, 1918, 1919, 1920. Page 1921, 1922, 1923, 1924, 1925, 1926, 1927, 1928, 1929, 1930. Page 1931, 1932, 1933, 1934, 1935, 1936, 1937, 1938, 1939, 1940. Page 1941, 1942, 1943, 1944, 1945, 1946, 1947, 1948, 1949, 1950. Page 1951, 1952, 1953, 1954, 1955, 1956, 1957, 1958, 1959, 1960. Page 1961, 1962, 1963, 1964, 1965, 1966, 1967, 1968. Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahaya Olurogbe, Kwara Central.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibrahim Yahaya Olurogbe. I represent Kwara Central Senatorial District. I rise to move that the vote and proceeding of Tuesday, the 29th day of November, 2022, be approved by the Senate. I so move, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Christopher Stephen Ekpeon.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President, and my distinguished colleagues. I remain Senator Christopher Stephen Ekpeon, presenting the good people of Akwa Ibom Northwest. I rise to second the motion that the vote and proceedings of Tuesday, 29th November, be so adopted as I second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 29th day of November, 2022 be approved, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 29th day of November, 2022 is hereby approved. Petitions? Any petitions? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Nigerian Social Investment Agency Establishment Bill 2022 SB 1078. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate for the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigerian Social Investment Agency Establishment Bill 2022, SB 1078, first reading.
Nigerian Social Investment Agency Establishment Bill 2022, SB 1078, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
The second business of the day is also the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Federal Produce Inspection Bill 2022 SB 1079. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Produce Inspection Bill 2022, SB 1079, first reading.
Federal Produce Inspection Bill 2022, SB 1079. Please. Leader of the Senate.
The third business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the National Library of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022, SB 1080. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Library of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022, SB 1080, first reading.
National Library of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022, SB 1080, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
The first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in my name on the Federal Polytechnic, COCO, Delta State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 381. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Polytechnic, COCO, Delta State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 381, first reading.
Federal Polytechnic, COCO, Delta State Establishment Bill 2022, HB 381, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
The first business of the day is the presentation of the House bill standing in my name on the Business Facilitation Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2022, HB 2015. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Business Facilitation Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2022, HB 2015, first reading.
Business Facilitation Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2022, HB 2015, first reading taken. Leader, before I call you, please, can we take the first and second bills, Nigerian Social Investment Agency, and then the Federal Produce Inspection Bill next week? Yes, can we do that? Because I think these are very critical bills. They're very, very critical. So we need to deal. Yeah. Yeah. So work towards that. They're very, very important. All right, Leader of the Senate.
The first order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the report of Mr. President, the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, for the confirmation of the nomination of Plenry Miller for appointment as Director General of National Lottery Regulatory Commission in accordance with the provision of Section 8, subsection 1, subsection A of the National Lottery Regulatory Commission Act 2005. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the purpose of the motion on the order paper is for the request of Mr. President Commander-in-Chief to be referred to the relevant committee for further legislative action. I therefore move that the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief be referred to the appropriate committee for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I second the motion heavily moved by the leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do consider that the Senate do consider the request of Mr. Presidency in C on the confirmation of the nomination of Lanre Bajaba Amila for appointment as Director General, National Lottery Regulatory Commission. Say aye. Those against any ayes have it. The request of Mr. Presidency in C is hereby referred to the Committee on Sports and Social Development for further legislative action to report back within a week. Where is the chairman? Within 1 week. Okay, within 1 week, please. Sorry? No, it's okay. I think the procedure was not followed. I was just briefed by the clerk that last week, after reading the letter, it was referred to the committee directly, and that's abridging the procedure. The procedure is supposed to be referred, so if he had been screened, this is just to follow the procedure. We can take the report if the report is ready tomorrow, because it's of essence as well. Yes, no, not next week. Oh, okay. No, I've forgotten that today is Wednesday. Yeah, next week, but is the report ready? So the report is not ready yet. Yes. So if the report is not ready, there's nothing we can do. We take the report on Tuesday because we need to also fast track it. There's a little gap, yeah, at the moment. Thank you very much for that information. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is a motion standing in my name on the committal on the following bills to the Committee of the Whole. National Dermatology Hospital Bill 2022 and the Chartered Institute of Statisticians of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move the motion.
You may proceed.
The Senate recalls that the following bills were passed by the Senate and the House of Representatives and were transmitted to the Clerk of the National Assembly for onward transmission to the President Commander-in-Chief for his assent. The bills are Specialized National Dermatology Hospital Bill 2022 and the Chartered Institute of Statisticians of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022. Observes that some fundamental issues which require fresh legislative action by both chambers of the National Assembly emerged after a critical analysis of the bills by Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief. Aware that a technical committee of the Senate and the House of Representatives and the Directorate of Legal Services met and worked on the bills. Relying on Order 1, subsection B, and the Order 52, subsection 6 of the Senate Standing Order 2022 as amended, accordingly resolves to resign the decision on the bills as passed and to commit same to the Committee of the Whole for reconsideration and passage.
Any comment, Committee of the Whole?
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolve into the Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask to second the motion that the Senate do resolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider these two reports. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the reports, say aye. Aye. Those against, any the ayes have it. Thank you. Specialized National Dermatology Hospital B. Those in favor that clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 6, general duty of the board on page 4. Those in favor that clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 11 is on page 6. Financial provisions. Those in favor at clause 11, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, and clause 15 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 16, discipline of junior staff, on page 10. Those in favor at clause 16, clause 17, clause 18 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor at the interpretation stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor at the short title on page 12 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor at the scheduled stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor at the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Where's the chief whip? Where's the chief whip? We want someone that will carry the whip. Okay, come and act. Chief whip, you are also making noise now. Okay, the second report. Those who are at clause 1, that is Chartered Institute of Statisticians of Nigeria. Those who are at clause 1, clause 2, election of president and vice president, clause 3, clause 4, and clause 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6, appointment of registrar, on page 4. Those who are at the clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11 is on page 7, supervision on instructions. Those who are at clause 11, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, clause 15 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 16, rules as to articles, practicing fees, on page 9. Those who are at clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, and clause 19 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are in favor of the interpretation stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the short title on page 12 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the schedules 1, 2, and 3 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum on page 20 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, plenary.
Okay. Distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. As so moved.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Thank you. Those in favor that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Specialized National Dermatology Hospital Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 18 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole also considered the Chartered Institute of Statisticians of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 19 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules 1, 2, and 3 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the two bills be now read the third time.
The Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second the motion that the two bills be read for the second time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the two bills be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Specialized National Dermatology Hospital, Garkida, and Management Board for the hospital to provide dermatological treatments, research, and training, and for related matters 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Statisticians of Nigeria to determine what standards of knowledge and skill are to be attained by persons seeking to become members of the institute, review those standards from time to time, and for related matters 2022, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Specialized National Dermatology Hospital Garkida and Management Board for the hospital to provide dermatological treatment, research and training, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. A bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Statisticians of Nigeria to determine what standards of knowledge and skill are to be attained by persons seeking to become members of the institute, review those standards from time to time, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and this bill is also passed. Leader of the Senate.
The third order of the day is the bill standing in my name on the Federal University of Technology, Sabambini, Sokoto State, Establishment Bill 2022. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was first read in this, the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 7th December 2021. Mr. President, with the permission, I move that the bill be read the second time.
You may proceed, please.
Lead debate on a bill for the establishment of the Federal University of Technology, Sabambini, Sokoto State, SB 868. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate of this very important bill for the establishment of the Federal University of Technology, Sabambini, Sokoto State. The bill,
Acting Whip, distinguished colleagues, please, those at the back, please. If I think maybe we need. Distinguished, please, those at the back, you are making noise. Let's listen to our colleague now. Chairman Health, I thought you had one say. ECOWAS Parliament. Please, you can go to ECOWAS Parliament. I know that's where you are supposed to go. Okay. Have a good day there. Okay. Leader, continue.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate of this very important bill for the establishment of Federal University of Technology, Savambindi in Sokoto State. The bill was first read for the first time in this honored chamber on Tuesday, 7th December 2021, and it seeks to establish the Federal University of Technology, Savambindi, and the comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, the very essence of this bill is to provide a highly specialized institution that is more productive and very much needed for technological advancement of the nation. The objects of the university, among others, include to encourage the advancement of learning and to hold out to all persons without distinction of race, creed, sex, or political conviction the opportunity of acquiring a higher education in science and technology, to develop and offer academic and professional programs leading to the award of diplomas, first degrees, postgraduate research, and higher degrees with the emphasis planning, adaptive, technical, maintenance, and development and productive skills in the engineering, scientific, agricultural, medical, and applied professional disciplines with a higher moral standard and the capability not only to understand, use, and adopt the existing technology, but also to improve on it and develop new ones. To act as agent of catalysts through postgraduate training, research, and innovation for effective and economic utilization, exploitation, and the conservation of the country's natural and human resources. To establish appropriate relationship with other national and private institutions involved in training, research, and development of science and technology. To identify technology problems and the needs of the society.
I think we'll change you.
The university is therefore to further advance knowledge through research and nurture unique innovations in science and technology. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the enactment of this bill will help in transforming the technological fortunes of Nigeria in producing the desired manpower and the expertise that Nigeria is yearning for. It should be remembered that one of the cardinal goals of this administration of change is the strong development of our educational sector. Finally, in line with the Order 76 subsection 3 of the Senate Standing Order 2022 as amended, a compendium of the financial implication of the establishment of the university shall be attached. In view of the above, I urge you all to support the expeditious passage of this bill. And I thank you very much for listening.
The Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I represent Niger North Senatorial District. I'm from Niger State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to support and second the second reading of this bill as aptly sponsored by the Senate leader, distinguished Senator Gobir Ibrahim Abdullahi, Sadonam Gobir. Your Excellency, I understand and I know for a fact that the debate about university establishment is contentious. However, the truth must be told. And the question to ask here is whether we have enough and whether the spread is even. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to my knowledge, Sabon Birni in Sokoto State is located in Sokoto East. And if you look at the distance of people living in that community or that area, the closest university to them will be almost 4 hours drive. And so, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, education is almost seen as a right. And I think when we give education to our young ones, that is when we are securing the future of this country. And I believe that citing this Federal University of Technology in such a location will be beneficial to the immediate communities, to Sokoto State, to Northwest, and indeed the country at large. And so I support that we approve the second reading of this bill. And of course, when it comes back, we should support the passage of this particular bill. It is going to help this country, and I believe it should become a challenge for us to sit and provide proper appropriation for universities spread all over, because we're in a democracy, and it is wrong for you to deny access, because the key issue, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is access. Some people are accessible to university, while some people have to go through the mill to get to the location of a university. With these few comments, I urge my colleague to support the second reading of it.
Distinguished Senator Uche Lillian Ekunifeyom.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, my name is Uche Lillian Ekunifeyom. Mr. President, I come from Anambra State. I represent Anambra Central. Mr. President, I would like to commend my colleague, Senator Gobri, for moving this motion for this bill. Mr. President, education is not just rights, but education should be compulsory. Mr. President, this bill is about establishing a School of Science, Technology, and Innovation. Mr. President, I would like to take this Senate to the last paragraph of this bill. It says, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the enactment of this bill will help in transforming the technological fortunes of Nigeria in producing the desired manpower and expertise that Nigeria is yearning for. It should be remembered that one of the cardinal goals of this administration of change is the strong development of the educational sector. Mr. President, I think we are paying lip service to technology. If we open School of Science, Technology, and Innovation, and we don't have appropriate laboratory for the students to test what are being taught, then it can never be complete. Mr. President, this country paid so much attention to raw materials without paying attention to equipment, to machinery, and other accessories we use to process those raw materials. That is why we are still calling ourselves a developing country. The difference between a developing country and a developed country is technology, and nothing but technology. Today, we lack technology. Most of our raw materials are being collected from Nigeria, exported to other countries, processed, and we import the same materials back to Nigeria. So when we want to open School of Science, Technology, and Innovation, we have to know that we are talking about reverse engineering. How do we develop those machineries that can assist us to expand and explore and also process our local raw materials? That's what we are talking about. So I am suggesting that once we talk about opening a University of Science and Technology and Innovation, we must be able to ensure that we have enough resources to also put the laboratory in place to ensure that the student is not just acquiring the education, but acquire the right education by being skillful in the discipline that are being taught in the school. So I support this bill, but at the same time, I know we still have to do a lot of work to ensure that we have a very comprehensive school that can take care of the students that were being taught in the university. So I support it.
Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Technology, Sabon Birni, Sokoto State, and for other matters connected there with 2022. Second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Technology, Sabon Birni, Sokoto State, and for other matters connected there with 2022. Second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund to report back within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
The first order of the day is the second reading of the Federal College of Education, Kanun Lamido, Taraba State, Establishment Bill 2022, SB 1052. The distinguished senators will recall that the bill was first read in this chamber on Tuesday, 27 September 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Isa Shaibulau to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
The Minority Leader, Senator Hello.
Thank you, Mr. President. My names are Isa Shoaibulao, representing the good people of Taraba North. Mr. President, and my highly respected, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on this very important bill, which seeks to provide for the establishment of the Federal College of Education, Karim Lamido, Taraba State. The bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, 27 September 2022. The existence of sound and robust educational system in any country is predicated on the availability of qualified and well-trained teachers to impart the required knowledge on the student. Thus, the need to have a strong system in our educational sector that shall continuously produce well-qualified and trained teachers, as it is obtainable in other developed countries, cannot be overemphasized. Undoubtedly, the realization that College of Education are tools for national development has led to an unbridled quest for various expansion of College of Educations in Nigeria. The objects of the college, as outlined in the bill, among others, include to encourage the advancement of learning to all persons without distinction of race, creed, sex, or political conviction, to develop and offer academic and professional programs leading to the award of certificates, first degrees, postgraduate research, diploma and higher degrees, with emphasis on planning, developmental and adaptive skills in education technology, applied sciences, agriculture, commerce, arts and social sciences, humanities, management, and applied professional disciplines. To produce matured educational men and women with capabilities not to only understand educational needs of Nigeria as a nation, but to also exploit existing educational infrastructure and improve on it to develop new ones. To act as agent and catalyst for effective educational system through postgraduate training, research, innovation for effective economic utilization and conversion conservation of the country's human resources, and to identify educational needs of society with a view to finding solutions to them within the context of overall national development. Mr. President, and my highly respected colleagues, the enactment of this bill will help not only in transforming the decayed educational infrastructures in Nigeria, it is my prayer and ardent call on you to consider the plight of people who are desirous to becoming professional teachers. In line with the Order 76 sub 3 of the Senate Standing Order 2022 as amended, a compendium of the financial implication of the establishment of the College of Education is hereby attached. Therefore, I urge all my colleagues to support the expeditious passage of this bill. Thank you. I so move.
The minority leader.
He wanted to talk. I want to talk. Everybody here wanted to talk. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let me first start by saying that the Deputy Minority Leader, distinguished Senator Issa Shaibullah, has done a very fantastic job in bringing up this bill. This bill is intended to create the College of Education in Karim Lamido. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, just like every other bill who seeks to create colleges of education, I believe that this bill is very, very quite straightforward. The objectives are outlined here: the advancement of learning and academic, to create professional programs for learning in the institution. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to urge my distinguished colleagues to support this bill, which will bring about and facilitate educational learning in Taraba State, and specifically in the Karim Lamido area of Taraba State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, with these few remarks, let me say that I urge my colleagues that we do support this bill for second reading, and if possible, send it to the appropriate committee so that they can carry out the legislative action as deemed necessary fit. I so second this motion. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator George Thompson Sekibo, CON, JP.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I am Senator George Thompson Sekibo. I represent the Rivers East Central District. Mr. President, I rise to support the lead debate on the establishment of Federal College of Education in Karim Lamido, Taraba State. In addition to what my able leader has said, Mr. President, I want to add that the number of students coming from our secondary schools is becoming too enormous. The reason is not far-fetched. You will recall that several private secondary schools are being opened almost on a yearly basis. And then in addition to what we already have. So they are turning out people to run the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board examination. And then in every year we are having so many persons. Of this number of persons, oftentimes...
Please, Minority Whip.
Oftentimes, 50 to 60% of those who do well in the JAM examinations are admitted. That means leaving about 30-something, 40% of those who write exams. It means that we need more tertiary institutions. So whatever we can do to establish more tertiary institutions to absorb this growing population of secondary school leavers is very important, especially these days when a secondary school leaver don't have opportunity of securing any job. We end up seeing them roaming.
Distinguished colleagues, please, the back is noisy. Please, let's listen to our colleague.
Mr. President, so I think that to reduce...
Please, if we have the tea room, I think it's only fair we listen to our colleagues when they speak. And if we have something to discuss, we can go to the tea room, please.
Those of us who are getting tired of the Senate should not come to chamber. Those who are very serious and interested should...
Distinguished, address the chair, please. Unless you are talking to the chair. It's okay. Senator Smart Ademi. Senator Smart Ademi. Senator Smart Ademi. There's no need to harass our distinguished colleague. No, it's all right. You know, I don't think it's fair to do that because we are looking for people from this side. So we should be as gentle and as polite enough. You are protected, by the way. Continue.
Mr. President, thank you for your able protection. Thank you for your protection. So in concluding, I am saying that if we have more tertiary institutions, it will assist to take away secondary school leavers on our streets, and then also take away adult-minded persons who are thinking of doing something creative with their own hands and with their brain. So on this note, Mr. President, permit me to support that this bill be read a second time. So I urge all my colleagues, including Senator Smart Adeyemi and Adeye Solomon, to support this bill and let it pass speedily. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Binos Yarodera.
Thank you, Mr. President. Binos Yaro Adama South. I rise to lend my voice to the motion for the second reading of this bill as proposed by my leader. In doing so, Mr. President, I would like to say that Karim Lamido is a locality that has linkages with Adamawa and Gombe states. Siting of the college education in Karim Lamido will give access to people of Gombe South and people of Adamawa South to access that institution. We are in the era of knowledge, and we need qualified teachers to teach our children in both primary and secondary schools. So this bill is very critical, as are all bills having to do with education. I would like to also make a call, or repeat a call I've made before on this floor, that because of the critical role of education and the need to train teachers, qualified teachers to man our primary and secondary schools, I call on the federal government as a policy to establish a federal college of education in each of the 109 senatorial districts of this country that do not presently have one. With these remarks, Mr. President, I support the second reading of this bill, and I ask all my colleagues to also support it. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of this, that this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Education, Karen Lamido, Taraba State, and for other related matters, 2022. Second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Education, Karim Lamido, Taraba State, and for other related matters, 2022, second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Debt Fund to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Federal Capital Territory on the 2022 FCT Appropriation Bill 2022, SB 1070. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Smart Ademi, the chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Smart Ademi, Kwaji West.
Mr. President, I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Senate Committee on the FCT on the 2022 statutory budget. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Frank Chukwuma-Ebezim.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Chukwuma Frank Ibezim, representing Imo North Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion, ably moved by Senator Smart Ademi. Thank you, Mr. President. I so move.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on FCT on the 2022 FCT Appropriation Bill 2022, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, you may lead the report, please. You may present the report now.
Mr. President, let me begin by saying this is a report that has been harmonized with our colleagues in the House of Reps, which was passed yesterday in the House of Representatives. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you recall that in line with the provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, the 2022 FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill was read for the first time on Tuesday, the 18th of October this year. The Senate concluded debate on the second reading on Tuesday, the 18th October, and the bill was referred to the Committee on Federal Capital Territory for further legislative action. In accordance, Mr. President, with Section 62, 80, 88, 89, and 299 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, The Senate and House committees on FCT met with the Honorable Minister and other relevant officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration and deliberated on the subject matter and agreed on the modalities to handle the exercise. In carrying out the committee's oversight duties, the committee visited schools in FCT, hospitals, Abuja Light Rail Mass Transit Project site, Gosa dump sites, the sewage treatment plants, was affordable housing projects, Karashi Water, Apple Karashi Road, Karashi Ara Road, rehabilitation of the National Assembly Complex, Lower Usman Dam, and so many other ongoing road projects of the FCT administration. This, Mr. President, is to affirm the submission made by the FCT administration and to also ensure that the money appropriated to the administration 2021 fiscal year is implemented judiciously and in line with the budgetary items as contained in the FCT 2021 Statutory Appropriation Act. Thereafter, Mr. President, the committee reviewed the performance of the FCT 2021 Statutory Appropriation Act and also identified critical areas of need for the development of the territory that will ensure improved standard of living of its inhabitants. In view of this, the committee just with the budget estimate, deploying funds to meet areas of critical needs like, Mr. President, the FCT support to security agencies, health and human services, development of satellite towns, city maintenance, education, roads, water within the territory and satellite towns, city cleaning, rehabilitation and construction of public buildings, transportation of services to include Abuja Rail Mass Transit, provision for counterpart funds of projects, emergency works, and to complete rehabilitation of Lower Usman Dam, making provision for perimeter fencing, security, illumination of the dam. Appraisal of the 2021 FCT Statutory Appropriation Act. An appropriation in the sum of 329,963,491,522 naira only was made to the FCT administration in the 2021 Statutory Appropriation Act. Out of this amount, Mr. President, the sum of 74,383,382,813 naira only, representing 22.52%, was allocated to personal costs. 67,173,250,111 naira only, represent 20.36%, was allocated to overhead costs, while the sum of 188,858,599 naira only, Mr. President. A total sum of 240,562,372,166 naira only kobo was accrued to the FCT administration from January to December 2021 as revenue from various sources, representing 73% of level performance as shown in the table below, Mr. President. With your permission, may I go to the FCT statutory budget expenditure proposal, page 8. Mr. President, the FCT 2022 statutory budget proposal is in the sum of 607,952,023,508 naira only, with expenditure breakdown as follows. Mr. President, personal costs, 74 billion 323 million 382,801 naira, representing, Mr. President, 12.59%. Overhead cost, pardon? Page 8, please. Okay, I'll go to personal cost. The fourth column, 4.1. 4.1. Personal cost, 76 billion 569 million 904,857 naira only, representing 12.59%, is proposed for personal cost for the year 2022. Compared to an appropriation of the sum of 74 billion 139 million 912,289 naira 48 kobo only in the year 2021. This shows an increase of the sum of 2 billion 246 million 522,044 naira only, which represents 3.02% as against the 2021 appropriation. The increase is to accommodate the annulment of the appointed mandate secretaries and other political appointees of the administration and payment of promotion and arrears of staff. Overhead costs, 138 billion 199 million 851,110 naira only, representing 22.73%, is proposed as overhead costs for the year 2022 fiscal year, against an appropriation of the sum of 67 billion 173 million 250,111 naira only in 2021. This shows an increase of the sum of 71 billion 26 million 600,999 naira only, representing 105.7, in order to address some critical overhead costs as highlighted below. FCT security services, service-wide contingency, financial services, that is Sukuk and Green Bond, loan repayment to DMO, protocol and passages, logistics support to security agencies, outstanding expenditures on COVID-19, cost of collection of FCT IRS, share of IGR of FCT and FCT IRS to the 6 area councils of the FCT. 5% of total wages as contribution to Pension Reform Act 2004, water treatment chemicals, operation and maintenance of Whooper sewage treatment plants, expenses on cleaning and sanitation of the territory, maintenance of campsites in satellite towns, waste evacuation in satellite towns of the FCT and capital, and now we go to capital expenditures. Page 10. A quick review of the 2022 capital budget estimate are as follows, Mr. President. The sum of 393 billion 182 million 267,000 naira and 14 kobo, representing 64.67%, is proposed as capital expenditure for the year 2022 for the development of infrastructure with emphasis on completion of ongoing projects. This shows 84.2% increase over the 2021 appropriation of the sum of 188 billion 466 million 858,599 naira only. Out of the proposed capital expenditure, the sum of 150 billion is from Sukuk loan project, The sum of 64 billion is for Abuja Light Rail project, and the sum of 10.1 billion is for rehabilitation of 100 schools in 100 days program, phase 1 of the FCT, while the balance of 199 billion 876 million 193,091 naira is dedicated to the completion of the ongoing capital project and other counterparts funded related projects aimed at enhancing socio-economic development and activities of the FCT. For the capital expenditure, the FCDA is allocated the sum of 175.5 billion, and the satellite town development the sum of 75 billion, while the other SDAs were allocated the sum of 141 billion, 141.4 billion for their capital expenditure to address critical areas like ongoing road construction, completion of water treatment plants, and related facilities, as well as few new projects to be executed. To accelerate the implementation of the budgets, the ongoing projects awarded in 2021 fiscal year statutory budget with contract awarded are substantially rolled into the 2022 budget. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, observations and findings. The revenue performance of the 2021 FCT statutory budget was 73%. The overall expenditure performance of the FCT 2021 statutory budget was only 65% as at 30th September 2022. There was an increase of the sum of 277 billion 988 million 532,058 kobo. That is 84.2% in the 2022 budget proposal of the sum of 607 billion 952 million 23,580 naira when compared with the 2021 appropriation of the sum of 329 billion 963 million 491,522. The sum of 138 billion 199 million 851,110 naira is proposed as overhead cost for the 2022 fiscal year. This shows an increase of the sum of 71 billion 26 million 600,999, representing an increase of 106%. A non-distributable revenue of the sum of 237 billion 736 million 179,801 has been proposed for the FCT 2022 statutory budget from the following services such as from COVID test, World Bank loan for COVID-19, response and stimulus economy plan at $15,000, only $1 million for FCT over 2 years. Nigeria COVID-19 Action Recovery and Economic Stimulus Program, Universal Basic Education UBE Counterpart Fund, Part Fund, Drug Revolving Fund, DRF, Insurance of Sukuk for roads and bridges in FCT, Chinese loan for railway project, inflows from Nexim Bank of the Chinese loan. The sum of 393 billion 182 million 266,614 has been proposed for the FCT 222 proposed capital expenditure. Thus, there is an increase of 108% in the 2022 proposed capital project budget over the 2021 appropriation of the sum of 188 billion 466 million 858,599 kobo. Mr. President, the sum of 76 billion 569 million 904,857 naira has been proposed for personnel costs for the year 2022, compared to an appropriation of the sum of 74 billion 139 million 912,886 89 naira 48 kobo in the year 2021. There was an increase of the sum of 2,246,522,044 kobo. That is 3.02% for personal costs for the year 2022 as against the 2021 appropriation. Mr. President, recommendation. In view of this report, Mr. President, the committee have recommended the sum of 607,952,023,580 naira only as FCT statutory budget for the year 2022. From the projected revenue, Mr. President, 607,952,023,580 naira only is for personal costs. $127,603,382,310 naira only is for overhead costs, while the sum of 403,778,736,413 naira only is for capital projects for the services of the Federal Capital Territory for the year commencing from 1st January and ending 31st December 2022. Recommended structure of expenditure for 2022 statutory budget appropriation bill, Mr. President. The percentage that there personnel cost is 12.59%, overhead cost is 20.99%, and total recurrent expenditure is 33.58%, capital expenditure is 66.42%. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in considering this budget, time is of the essence. As the two committees, Senate and House of Representatives on the FCT, have worked harmoniously to present one version of the report for consideration by both chambers. Mr. President, it might interest you to equally know that in this budget is a proposal for the commencement of Metama 2, which is going to be the new district. Already, the BBP has issued a certificate of no objection, and one of the formidable indigenous company is recommended to commence the construction of Metama 2 shortly after this budget. The reason I'm saying this, Mr. President, is that for the first time in recent time, indigenous companies are going to be more involved in construction of projects that are within their powers to do, so that we can keep our economy moving and our money is not repatriated out of this country by quite a number of the foreign companies. So effort is being made to put the consideration in local content of using indigenous companies that are competent, that have been there over the years, and there are projects that they have done in time past. So, Mr. President, we only propose that this budget should run concurrently with the 2023 budget when passed till June next year. This is to ensure that money is spent is expended on the projects that have been approved by the two chambers. But I think more importantly, Mr. President, because of the state of the economy, the global economic recession, there is need to inject funds in the economy so that companies do not retrench and do not lead to insecurity of the country. So this budget is coming late, but being as it is, Mr. President, it can still be accommodated if the two chambers so agree with the two committees that this budget be allowed to run concurrently with 2023 budget when passed, which is already before the National Assembly. So on behalf of my colleague, Mr. President, I so submit.
Well, I think even though I'm yet to understand what you mean, the two budgets should run concurrently, but I think every possible effort must be made to ensure that FCD presents its budget at the time that Mr. President also present the budget estimates, because this is in complete variance with what we have been doing the last 3.5 years or so. This is December, well, tomorrow is December, I guess, and we are likely to pass the 2023 budget by next week or so. Now 2022 has just come. Well, what has the FCT been doing? Now, how is it run? Because it means either it has not been doing anything, or maybe they have been implementing half budget, and that does not help the development of the FCT. It doesn't. So I would advise, even though the life of this assembly is almost over, probably this is the last budget to be presented. Of course, the 2023 is also around, it's in the system. But I think there's need for stepping up on how the FCT deals with its budget, because time is of essence and development here. Senator Matthew Urogide.
Thank you, Mr. President. Urogide, I represented those House and Interior District. Mr. President, first let me commend the efforts of the committee on FCT on this budget presentation. But I just have one or few observations to make. First, the budget performance for 2021, Mr. President. What they just said is that revenue performance for 2021 was 73%. But expenditure performance was 65%. They'll probably ask why. If your revenue was improved upon, we would have expected the performance when it comes to expenditure to at least be commensurate. That's the first question over the budget performance for 2021. For 2022, the statistics given by the committee, they look very interesting. The figures have increased, tremendously, going from personnel costs to overhead costs to capital. The issue of FCT, Mr. President, is that a lot of us who have been here, there are priorities that really just must be given. I am sorry I'm not comparing the administrations of people, different persons who have been charged with responsibility of administering the budget of FCT. But there are too many projects in FCT that have become almost moribund. The Apple Road to Asokoro, that has been under construction for over 3 years. And I can imagine that such projects should be given priority. I have not seen, although the chairman just mentioned, lastly after he did his presentation, that the Maitama 2, since 2015, I know that that area has been allocated, but there's still no access route to date. I just believe this project should be given priority. Now that you have increased your capital from 160 something to 300 something, which makes a whole lot of difference, from 188 billion to 393 billion. And you have said it there, 64.67%. So, Mr. President, I think as a Senate, we too must give direction. It's not just to present this budget. We must give direction to areas that must be prioritized. You are giving increase in personnel costs, but we want to know why. You have given all the statistics, but the fact behind it. Are you doing new employment to necessitate increase in personnel costs, or it is increase in salaries and allowances? Because we are seeing it, the increment too is huge. if the overhead cost too has increased tremendously.
I think we should round up.
So, of the FCT administration, so reasons are not adduced for these increments that have been given. So I just believe, we should know so that we too can keep a tab, on the execution of the budget. Thank you very much.
Senator Awara Jibril.
Thank you, Mr. President. Barrow Jibrin Kano North. Mr. President, I just want to commend the chairman and members of the committee for bringing forward this well-crafted report and very straightforward. In any case, I want to add that the chairman has been doing well and members of the committee. In furtherance to that, they should do more in terms of guiding the ministry to properly, as much as possible, make sure that the capital expenditure, capital side of the budget is well implemented. Abuja is one of the important symbols of this country. We want it to be well structured, sound sanitation, and the highest degree of orderliness. And without money, if you don't implement your budget properly, you'll not be able to achieve these important attributes for a good city. Having said so also, I want to call on the chairman to always make sure that the committee does its oversight properly in terms of these figures that have been shown here, like the overhead. You have an increase of about 1 and something % in terms of the overheads, so there should be proper oversight to make sure that the increase is justified. The report is well crafted, and so we should pass it without much ado. Everything is well put together here. Very straightforward. Thank you.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let me start by thanking the committee for doing a very fantastic and wonderful job, and to also take note of what my distinguished colleagues and especially distinguished colleagues Matthew Orogede has said about the budget. Yes, indeed, there are various projects that are all over the place in the FCT, and I want to specifically commend the committee, which has, under the leadership of Smart Ademi, because yes, I'm aware that he has led us through some project inspections and some oversight, and I want to encourage that the only way we can ensure that we get value for money and ensure that projects are implemented is by way of this oversight that is being done in the FCT. So I want to knowing well that yes, this budget came very late, and we're just considering it now to ask my distinguished colleagues go ahead to support this budget so that we can pass it so that the FCT can begin work on their various sites, and then the committee can also carry out its oversight functions properly to ensure that the people get value for their money. And Your Excellency, the Senate President, has said it all, that we must look at the circle to which this budget is being brought to the National Assembly. Indeed, this National Assembly has achieved milestone by ensuring January, January cycle of budget presentation and passage. So I want to encourage that, yes, we've institutionalized this and we've set this as a standard. And if we as the House of Assembly for the people of the FCT can pass the national budget for the people of Nigeria, I do not see the reason why the FCT budget should not be brought early in time and for passage so that the people of the FCT can benefit from it, because the whole shade of Nigeria is represented in the entire FCT, and everybody in Nigeria is interested in what happens in the FCT. With these few remarks, I want to urge my colleagues that we go ahead and consider this budget for passage. Thank you.
Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Chukwuko Taze, and I represent the good people of Enugu North Central District of Enugu State. I want to align myself with previous speakers on this important report before us, brought by the chairman of the Senior Committee on FCT, no less a person than most distinguished Senator Smart Adeyemi. Mr. President, I won't want to repeat what others have said, but I want to say that as the House of Assembly of the FCT, we have enormous responsibility over the activities of the FCT. And in saying that, Mr. President, I want to say that the Minister for FCT, who has been implementing the budgets passed by this House of Assembly for FCT, to my own estimation, I don't think he's doing well. I'm saying so because since 2015 to present, there are projects that have been lined up here over time that nothing has happened to. I'm saying so that Abuja main central business district, the main metropolis of this FCT, is being congested and pressured upon. And the essence is because the satellite community towns that are out there are not being developed. During this last rainy season, Mr. President, if you go to satellite towns...
the Minority Whip, I think we'll restrict ourselves to the report because we have to go for, it's not second reading. We will restrict ourselves to the report, then we'll go for the Committee of Supply to look at it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I want to say that ask the chairman of the Senate Committee to start a serious job on the minister to ensure that the budget will pass. It's not every year after the passage. At the end of the financial year, we'll just pack money back to the coffers of the Federation, and the jobs remain undone. If we continue that way, it will not all go well for this Federal Capital Territory. The man had to sit up on his duty. I thank you so much.
Leader, Committee of the Whole to consider the Committee of Supply, Committee of Supply.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolve into the Committee of Supply to consider the report. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this Senate resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider this to consider this report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of Supply to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, distinguished colleagues, please, those who may be conversing, you could do so in a very low tone. Sorry? I hope we have documents. We start from page 7 of this document. Schedule Part A, recurrent, non-debt expenditure. Federal Capital Territory first line charge 12,643,377 naira 9. Sorry? Oh, okay, sorry. I'll take it again. Federal Capital Territory first line charge 12,643,377,907 naira. Protocol Department 1,849,700,479 naira. Security Services Department 6,653,706,996 naira. FCT Treasury 34,564,213,820 naira. Economic Planning, Revenue Generation, and PPP Secret 1,943,692,108 naira. FCT Establishment and Training Department 2,350,114,399 naira. FCT Audit Department 594,270,246 naira. Department of Monitoring and Inspection 315,471,688 naira. Okay. But these are the details that everybody wants to hear. Not you alone. Those people up there, they want to report. But you are representing the FCT. If you don't want this reported, then we can. So let's take the pen. Let's go as we've started. I know it's tedious Land Administration Department, 1,039,246,078 naira. FCT procurement, Department, 1,164,982,141 naira. FCT Directorate of Muslim Pilgrims Affairs, 1,159,648,502 naira. FCT Director of Christian Pilgrims Affairs, Minority Whip, please. Your noise is more than what you are trying to play. FCT Directorate of Christian Pilgrims Affairs, 791,437,400 naira. FCT Pension Department, 6,046,844,536 naira. FCT Archives and Historical Bureau, 343,036,648 naira. FCT Urban and Regional Planning Tribunal, 103,027,523 naira. Department of Outdoor Advertisement and Signages, 667,982,322 naira. Department of Information and Communication, 502,978,038 naira. Department of Reform, Coordination and Service, 552,426,390 naira. FCDA Administration, 78,342,640 naira. Finance and Administration, 1,464,151,989 naira. Engineering Services, 970,877,177 naira. Public Building, 694,839,428 naira. Resettlement and Compensation Department, 245,457,076 naira. Urban and Regional Planning, 256,455,652 naira. Survey and Mapping, 275,927,104 naira. Mass Housing Department, 107,051,533 naira. FCDA Procurement Department, 153,758,221 naira. FCDA Internal Audit, 73,471,471,000. I take that again. 73,471,284 naira. Public Relations, 104,627,741 naira. Engineering Design, 168,138,845 naira. FCDA Legal Services, 99,394,467 naira. FCT Legal Secretariat, 1,806,522,200 naira. Area Council Secretariat, 573,068 naira. ACSS Inspectorate Planning and Monitoring, 219,902,485 naira. ACSS Chieftaincy and Community Development, 513,316,321 naira. ACCS Primary Healthcare Department, 634,159,839 naira. ACCS Planning, Research and Statistics, 178,792,411 naira. Area Council Service Commission, 536,588,701 naira. FCT Area Council Staff Pension Board, 838,348,609 naira. Office of the Auditor General for FCT Area Councils, 789,122,125 naira. Transport Secretariat, 248,260,204 naira. Road Traffic Services, 2,415,392,268 naira. Bus Rapid Transport Transit and Transport Regulations, 56,307,092 naira. Department of Public Transportation, 5,889,908,607 naira. Minority Whip, I think we can do without your intervention. Because when you speak, the noise you make outweighs, yes, what you are trying to correct. So,
I take exception, Mr. Chairman.
No, wait, when we go to plenary, you can do that. At plenary. At plenary, not this one. At plenary. Department of Public Transportation, 5,889,908,617 naira. Department of Transportation, 416,809,934 naira. Department of Transportation Planning, Research and Statistics, 293,192,420 naira. Education Secretariat, 1,735,720,638 naira. The Education Resource Center, Agency for Mass Education, 1,430,094,372 naira. FCT Education Resource Center, 1,208,478,424 naira. FCT Universal Basic Education, 17,996,746,334 naira. FCT Secondary Education Board, 14,026,779,118 naira. FCT College of Education Zuba, 1,928,745,054 naira. FCT Agency for Science and Technology, 1,376,953,257 naira. FCT Scholarship Board, 606,11,000 naira. Department of Quality Assurance, 1,121,038,356 naira. Department of Higher Education, 248,854,656 naira. Department of Policy Planning, Research and Statistics, 343,491,631 naira. Department of Special Needs Education, 164,034,935 naira. Health and Human Services Secretariat, 5,074,991,383 naira. School of Nursing and Midwifery, 948,570,853 naira. Department of Nursing Services, 184,680,091 naira. Public Health Department, 880,464,738 naira. Health Planning, Research and Statistics Department, 277,538,899 naira. Department of Pharmacy, 340,336,725 naira. FCT Medical Diagnostics Department, 313,016,900 naira. Health Management Board, 4,780,496,750 naira. Asokoro District Hospital, 2,133,095,976 naira. Maitama District Hospital, 1,838,218,098 naira. Wuse District Hospital, 2,039,462,365 naira. Kubwa District Hospital, 1,518,494,198 naira. FCT Semi-Urban District Hospitals, 2,959,185,035 naira. FCT Satellite District Hospitals, 3,130,012,389 naira. Agriculture Rural Development Secretariat, 684,780, sorry? Who? Okay. Primary Health Care Development Board, that's page 12. 2,171,253,709 naira. Agriculture Rural Development Secretariat, 684,780,885 naira. FCT Agri Development Project, 584,622,275 naira. Department of Agri Services, 260,036,413 naira. Department of Agriculture Planning, Research and Statistics, 176,933,997 naira. Department of Veterinary Services, 536,267,326 naira. Department of Animal Husbandry, 156,099,672 naira. Department of Forestry, 113,961,174 naira. Department of Cooperative and Rural Development, 144,054,378 naira. Department of Fisheries, 113,017,774 naira. Social Development Secretariat, 1,132,866,274 naira. Welfare Department, 767,096,420 naira. Sports Development, Sports Department, 244,741,888 naira. Tourism Department, 154,740,867 naira. Gender Development Department, 250,817,816 naira. Arts and Culture, 320,522,528 naira. Youth Department, 232,410,863 naira. Abuja Metropolitan Management Council, 1,683,000,000 143,808 naira. Parks and Recreation, 1,179,515,105 naira. Facilities Maintenance and Management, 5,810,864,391 naira. FCT Urban Affairs, 203,412,692 naira. Development Control Department, 1,252,194,077 naira. FCT Water Board, 5,09,578,777 naira. FCT Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency, 723,522,020 naira. Abuja Environmental Protection Board, 10,670,444,256 naira. Abuja Geographic Information Systems, 1,318,472,777 naira. Satellite Towns Development Department, 3,218,651,124 naira. Abuja Infrastructure Investment Center, 433,760,406 naira. FCT Emergency Management Agency, 1,211,626,089 naira. Department of Fire Service, 1,380,516,543 naira. The general summary: total recurrent 204 billion. Please face this way. Total recurrent 204 billion 173 million 287,168 naira. Part B, capital expenditure, and that's where I will go the way of Plenry Maduda. But not only that, I will just go through departments and then the total. Federal Capital Territory Administration, Protocol Department, Security Services Department, FCT Treasury, Department of Economic Planning, Department of Human Resource Management, FCT Audit Department, Department of Monitoring and Inspection, Land Administration Department, FCT Procurement Department, FCT Director of Muslim Pilgrims Affairs, FCT Director of Christian Pilgrims Affairs, FCT Pension Department, FCT Archives and Historical Bureau, FCT Urban and Regional Planning Tribunal, Department of Outdoor Advertisement and Signages, Department of Information and Communication, Department of Reform Coordination and Service, FCD Administration, Finance and Administration, Engineering Services, Public Buildings, Resettlement and Compensation Department, Urban and Regional Planning, Survey and Mapping, Mass Housing Department, FCDA Procurement Department, Internal Audit, Public Relations, Engineering Design, FCDA Legal Services, FCT Legal Secretariat, Area Council Secretariat, ACSS Inspectorate Planning and Monitoring, ACSS Chieftaincy and Community Development, ACSS Primary Health Care Department, ACSS Planning, Research and Statistics, Area Council Service Commission, FCT Area Council Staff Pension Board, Office of the Auditor General for FCT Area Councils, Transport Secretariat, Road Traffic Services, Bus Rapid Transit and Transport Regulations, Department of Traffic Management, Department of Transportation, Department of Transportation Planning, Research and Statistics, Education Secretariat, Agency for Mass Education, FCT Education Resource Center, FCT Universal Basic Education, FCT Secondary Education Board, FCT College of Education Zuba, FCT Agency for Science and Technology, FCT Scholarship Board, Department of Quality Assurance, Department of Higher Education, Department of Policy, Planning, Research and Statistics, Department of Special Needs Education, HHS Secretariat, School of Nursing and Midwifery, Department of Nursing Services, Public Health Department, Health Planning, Research and Statistics, Department of Pharmacy, FCT Medical and Diagnostics, Health Management Board, Asokoro District Hospital, Maitama District Hospital, Wuse District Hospital, Kubwa District Hospital, FCT Semi-Urban District Hospitals, FCT Satellite District Hospitals, Primary Health Care Development Board, Agriculture Rural Development Secretariat, FCT Agri Development Project, Department of Agri Services, Department of Agriculture, Planning, Research and Statistics, Department of Veterinary Services, Department of Animal Husbandry, Department of Forestry and Rural Development, Department of Cooperative and Rural Development, Department of Fisheries, Social Development Secretariat, Welfare Department, Sports Department, Tourism Department, Gender Development Department, Arts and Culture, Youth Department, Abuja Metropolitan Management Council, Parks and Recreation, Facilities Maintenance and Management, FCT Urban Affairs, Development Control Department, FCT Water Board, FCT Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Agency, Abuja Environmental Protection Board, Abuja Geographic Information Systems, Satellite Towns Development Department, Abuja Infrastructure Investment Center, FCT Emergency Management Agency. Department of Fire Service, grand total capital first, 403 billion 778 million 736,413 naira. Grand total current and capital 607 billion 952 million 23,580 naira. Those in favor that those in favor that clause 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 2 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 3 payment of revenue into the statutory account stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 4 environment stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 5 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 6 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 7 concurrent expenditure stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor that the clause 8, the short title, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The explanatory memorandum is on page 17. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Of course, clause 1, the long title is on page 1. We have no page 1 here. Page 6, the long title. Those who are the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Tedious. Leader of the Senate, plenary.
I move that the Senate revert to plenary and the chair for the chair to report progress.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, thank you for passing the FCT budget. Having said that, Mr. President, I now move that this Senate about to be passed. I now move that this Senate revert to plenary to report progress. I so second, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. We are all excited. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Senator Matthew, is that your seat? Ah. Oh, okay. The Senate and the Committee of Supply considered the report of the Committee on FCT on the Federal Capital Territory FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Part A, recurrent non-debt expenditure as recommended. Part B, capital expenditure as recommended. Clause 1 to 7 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Short title as recommended. Long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of our transfer in the Committee of the Whole? Yeah. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that this bill now be read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this bill be now read a third time as to second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Federal Capital Territory Administration's Statutory Revenue Fund of the Federal Capital Territory Administration account, the total sum of 607,952,023,580 naira only, of which the sum of 76,569,904,857 naira only is for personnel costs, and the sum of 127,603,382,310 naira only is for overhead costs, while the balance of 403,736,413 naira only is for capital projects for the service of the Federal Capital Territory Abuja for the financial year commencing from 1st January and ending on 31st December 2022. Third reading.
An act to authorize the issue from the Federal Capital Territory Administration Statutory Revenue Fund or the Federal Capital Territory Administration account the total sum of 607,952,023,580 naira only, of which the sum of 76,569,904,857 naira only is for personnel cost, and the sum of 127,603,382,310 naira only is for overhead costs, while the balance of 403,778,736,413 naira only is for capital projects for the service of the Federal Capital Territory Abuja for the financial year commencing from 1st January and ending on 31st December 2022, third reading taken, and this bill is passed. Well, congratulations once again to the Committee on FCT, but let me reiterate and re-echo the observations made by our various colleagues who spoke on the report. First, it is absolutely necessary that the budget of the FCT comes to the National Assembly in good time, September of every year, just like the executive arm of government, Mr. President, presents the budget of the federal government. Secondly, I believe that our committee on FCT also has a duty to ensure that projects that are reflected are really implemented. If there is misplacement of priorities, it's our duty. If there's misplacement of priorities, it is our duty as an assembly to ensure that we get the priorities right. We shouldn't have too many abandoned projects. Yes, we may not have enough resources, but we must apply those resources very, very well where we need them, particularly, and insist on value for money. Thank you once again and congratulations. Leader of the Senate.
Sir, the sixth order of the day is the resumption of adjourned consideration of the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the Financial Reporting Council Act 2011, Amendment Bill 2022, SB 824. Distinguished senators, we recall that further consideration of the report of the Committee of the Whole was deferred at clause 20 for further legislative action on Wednesday, 23rd November 2022. But you see, there are going to be you have two reports, and therefore the two can be presented at the same time. With your permission, Your Excellency. No, it doesn't matter. You can take it. The two. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move that the Senate do resolve into the Committee of the Whole to resume consideration of the report. And the other one, later you will report. Okay. You can go ahead. Yeah. So,
Chairman, no, Leader. The first one that we adjourn consideration is a bill on this financial reporting council amendment. So I will suggest that we take that first, and then we take the report subsequently. So you present, we deal with the first one.
Thank you.
Senator Said Al-Ghali.
My very distinguished colleagues, my name is Said Al-Ghali. Mr. President, I am from Gombe State, and I represent Gombe North. I rise to move that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the Financial Reporting Council Act 2011 Amendment Bill 2022 SB 824, adjourn consideration Wednesday 23rd November 2022 at clause 21. I so move, Mr. President.
I need a seconder. Senator Adiola Olamilekong. Second, right?
Adiola Solomon Olamilekong. I rise to second the motion as moved by Senator Ankadi. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. So we go to Committee of the Whole. Leader of the Senate, we go to Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate resolve into the Committee of the Whole to resume consideration of the report.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate resolve into Committee of the Whole to resume consideration of this report. I so second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to resume consideration of the report say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Where did we stop? Plus 20. So, from 21. Clause 21 is on page 49. Sorry? Which 18? What are you saying? Are we looking at the same document? Huh? I'm not sure about that. You see, the thing is, we are not looking at the main. No, we are looking at the report. Yes, we are looking at what the committee recommended. Yes. So it can't be. That's the principal act. We are not looking at that. No, it's not page 23. I still don't agree with what you are saying. Because we are looking at the principal act. Yeah, we are looking at what the committee recommended. And it's supposed to be on page 49. All there, page 49, not 23. All right. That's clause 21, which is an amendment of section 68. Those in favor that clause 21 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 22, page 50, an amendment of section 72. Those in favor that clause 22 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 23 on page 51 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are the explanatory memorandum on page 55 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, plenary.
Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate revert to plenary to report progress.
Minority.
Mr. Chair, I rise to second the motion that the chair, that the Senate do revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
The distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the chair reports progress say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole resumed consideration of the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the financial reporting. Is it not supposed to be reporting council? Yeah, the council is missing. On the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act 2011, Amendment Bill 2022, and approved as follows. Clause 21 to 24, as recommended. Short title as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
I move that the Bill on Financial Reporting Council Act 2011 Amendment, Bill 2022, be now read the third time. So, no, what I said, yeah, it should be read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this bill be now read a third time. I so second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Financial Reporting Council Act 2011 to, among other things, streamline the membership of the governing board, as well as confer oversight responsibilities for financial reporting and corporate governance regulations in Nigeria on the Council, with a view to repositioning and strengthening the statutory functions of the Council in line with normative standards for operational efficiency and effectiveness, and for related matters 2022, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Financial Reporting Council Act 2011 to, among other things, streamline the membership of the governing board, as well as confer oversight responsibilities for financial reporting and corporate governance regulations in Nigeria on the Council, with a view to repositioning and strengthening the statutory functions of the Council in line with normative standards for operational efficiency and effectiveness, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Leader of the Senate.
The seventh order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the approval of promissory note program to settle outstanding claims in the sum of 355,486,874,569.8 only, owed to various exporters from 2007 to 2020 in respect of Export Expansion Grant Scheme. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Ali Said Ahmed to move the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the report of the committee. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Said Ali.
Thank you, Mr. President. My very distinguished and respected colleagues, my name is Said Al-Ghali. Mr. President, I am from Gombe State, and I represent Gombe North. Mr. President, I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Senate Committee on Trade and Investment on the approval of promissory note program to settle outstanding claim in the sum of 355,486,874,560 naira and 80 kobo only to all various exporters from 2007 to 2020 in respect of the Export Expansion Grant EEG scheme. I so move, Mr. President.
Anil Seconda. Distinguished Senator Nora Ladi Dadut, Plateau South.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion moved by distinguished Senator Al-Khali on the approval of a promissory note program. I so move.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the approval of promissory note program to settle outstanding claims in the sum of 305,486,874,569 naira and 80 kobo. Say aye. Those against say nay, that is aye. You may let the report, please, Chairman. You may present the report.
Thank you, Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues. The Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, at its sitting on Wednesday, 21st September 2022, considers the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria a promissory note program in the sum of 375,486,874,569 naira 80 kobo only to settle outstanding claim of various exporters from 2007 to 2020 in respect of Export Expansion Grant EEG scheme and refer to the Senate Committee on Trade and Investment for further legislative action. The scope of this request covers EEG verified claim from 2007 to 2020, 165 companies. Outstanding claim for 2007 to 2016, which was approved by the Federal Executive Council in 2018, but not cleared by the 8th National Assembly, 38 companies. Companies with negotiable duty certificate, NDCCs, yet to be approved by the National Assembly, 13 companies, and companies with shortfall in the approved claims, 69 companies for promissory note, respectively. Background.
Leader of the Senate. Extend time.
In line with Order 8, Subsection 3, I move that we extend our stint beyond 2 p.m. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we extend our sitting beyond 2 p.m. I so second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate sits beyond 2 p.m., say aye. Those against, say nay, that is aye. Continue, Chairman.
Background of the scheme. Export Expansion Grant EEG is a form of export support incentive administered by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC. The scheme is a post-shipment export incentive that is designed to introduce non-oil exporters whose minimum annual export turnover is 5 million. It was introduced by the Export Incentive and Miscellaneous Provision, Cap 18 of 1986, as amended by Cap number 65 of 1992, Cap E19, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, LFN 2004. The grant is administered based on claim by exporters for the confirmed value of goods exported for which the proceeds have been repatriated to Nigeria and confirmed by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. The EEG is aimed at assisting exporters to expand their volume and value of non-oil export, diversify export market, and to make them more competitive in the international market. However, following allegation of widespread of abuse of the scheme and the accumulation of significant liability on the claim, the scheme was suspended in January 2014. The Honorable Minister of Trade and Investment set up interministerial committee to review the scheme holistically and make recommendation on the continued operation of the scheme or otherwise the structure of its continued operation. The membership of the Interministerial Committee consists of the following: Export Promotion Council, NEPC, Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment, Office of the Auditor General of the Federation, Technical Services Department, Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Nigeria Customs Service, Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. The committee set up with far-reaching recommendations, and the Economic Management Team, EMT, as its meeting of 17 October 2016, presided by His Excellency the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, San, approved the recommendation. This culminated in the lifting of the technical suspension on the EEG scheme. Furthermore, the EMT directed that all approved liabilities, processed and unprocessed claim in the scheme, as well as unutilized negotiable duty certificate, which are either in the custody of exporters or awaiting issuance by the Federal Ministry of Finance, be settled after the conduct of an audit to verify the actual amount due. The sum of 350,417,969,348 naira 42 kobo was approved by the Federal Executive Council and submitted to the 8th National Assembly for approval. The proposed process by which claims were addressed was with the remittance of promissory notes, which the Central Bank of Nigeria granted liquidity status and are recognized by the Securities and Exchange Commission as tradable instrument. The recipient will be free to discount the instrument for cash with the bank, who will hold them until maturity. Subsequently, in 2018, the backlog of claim estimated at 350,714,696,348 naira 92 kobo in respect of 2007 to 2016 was submitted to the National Assembly, out of which a total of 195,089,294,808 naira 64 naira in favor of 270 beneficiaries were approved for settlement. Mr. President, with your permission, I will go to the scope in page 13.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the committee has been mandated by the Senate further to a referral order dated Wednesday, 21st September 2022, to consider the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a promissory note program in the sum of 364,468,874,569 naira 80 kobo, only to settle outstanding claim of various exporters from 2007 to 2020 in respect of Export Expansion Grant EEG, and refer same to the Senate Committee on Trade and Investment for further legislative action. The scope of the verification is broken down in the categories listed below. EEG claim from 2017 to 2020 exports. Outstanding claim from 2007 to 2016, which was approved by the Federal Executive Council in 2018, but not cleared by the 8th National Assembly. Companies with negotiable duty credit certificate, NDDCs, yet to be approved by the National Assembly, and companies with shortfall in the approved claim for promissory notes, respectively. Mr. President, let me go to recommendations. Page 40. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, based on the submissions to a review of the document and interactive session with the stakeholders, the committee recommends as follows. 1. Approve and release the sum of 308,458,160,546 naira 41 kobo, only for 194 beneficiary companies whose claims have been reviewed and validated This total sum comprises of the following categories of claims. A, 193 billion 456 million 239,386 naira 40 kobo only for the 133 beneficiaries in respect of EEG claim outstanding for 2017 to 2020. B, 108 billion 317 million 269,008 naira 76 kobo only for 35 companies in respect of EEG backlog claim of 2007 to 2016. C, 68 billion 398 million only for 13 beneficiaries in respect of stock of outstanding negotiable duty certificate, NDDCs. D, 6 billion 616 million 781,551 million .25 kobo only in respect of shortfall in the approved claims by the 8th National Assembly. 2, step down the release of 60 billion 635 million 88,940 naira .63 kobo only outstanding for 34 companies due to inability of the affected companies to provide necessary documentation to validate their claims. The claims for the affected companies have not been validated after verification and therefore not recommended for the issuance of promissory notes. Conclusion. The committee expressed its appreciation to the Senate for the assignment and its successful completion. It is hoped that the recommendation will be approved to realize the objective of a EEG scheme. Thank you, Mr. President.
Comments? The Senate Leader.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. This EEG, that is Export Expansion Grant, is a very important issue, without which certainly there will be no expansion on industries. The purpose of this is to make sure that people are given the necessary incentives to be able to improve on their protection and also manufacturing facilities. And I believe what Mr. President did here is very good by paying them so that by the time this is done, then that will help greatly in the improvement of their protection facilities and so on. But what is very fundamental here is actually to critically analyze and know those people who will be benefiting from this. Because over the years, there has been a lot of abuses in this area, which we have to be very, very careful with. But I support this, and I think this is very important. Thank you.
Deputy Chief.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Aliu Sabi Abdullahi, Niger North. Mr. President, mine is to first commend the initiative itself, and I note the fact that there are backlogs. Definitely, this is commendable. When we talk about diversifying the Nigerian economy and providing growth so that there is employment, it is schemes like this that will enable such companies to continue to operate and to be productive. So I think it is worthy of commendation that our president, deemed it necessary to approve all those backlogs from 2007. This is in the spirit and character of our government to definitely right the wrong wherever they see one. And I think these companies have operated, and the fact that since 2007 they've been denied what belongs to them, speaks volume. But here we are, our president has deemed it necessary to redeem what is theirs. That is in our spirit, and that is the character of this administration under President Muhammadu Buhari, and we hope to continue glowingly so. The other point I want to make is to say that for those companies that the recommendation is saying we step down, this is simply because over the years, maybe they have lost faith. Please, they should take note. This is a serious initiative. Government is serious about it, and they should come forward to defend those claims so that we can definitely do the needful. Mr. President, this is good, and I commend the initiative. Thank you.
We go to the recommendations. On page 40, approval and release of the sum of 308,458,160,546 naira 41 kwabo only for 194 beneficiary companies whose claims have been reviewed and validated. This total sum comprises of the following categories: A, B, C, D. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. Recommendation 2, step down the release of the total sum of 60,635,088,940 naira 63 kwabo only outstanding to 34 companies due to the inability of the affected companies to provide necessary documentation to validate their claims. The claims for the affected companies have not been validated after verification and therefore not recommended for the issuance of promissory note. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I think I may not be very correct, but I think there is a problem with those companies who export. When they get their money, it takes them very long to bring back the money into the country. If government is supporting exporters, then I think they should also reciprocate by bringing back their money in good time. I don't know whether it is statutory that the money had to be paid in a bank for 90 days or whatever. Senator Abiru, you are a banker. What can you help with that?
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, the whole idea behind the EEG scheme actually is...
No, what I'm talking about...
and also diversify the economy, like my colleagues had said. And essentially, for those who, for these beneficiaries, as they do it, there is what is called the NXPs. Those are the export forms that you register as you are processing your export-related transactions. And the whole idea too is that it allows for inflows into our foreign reserves as well. So those that have been clarified, or those that have been clarified exactly, will have met all those conditions. Perhaps the others have issues about those clarifications with the CBN. So you are very much in order. That's what I'm saying.
For it. President.
300 days.
The
300 days. That's too long. Yusuf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the rule is 90 days from the date of bill of lading. They must repatriate their export proceeds. That's the law. 90 days from the date of bill of lading, they must repatriate their export proceeds. That is what is in the NXP. Thank you, sir.
I think the point I was trying to make is, if government is supporting exporters through the export expansion grant, then we need to also maybe be very strict with these 90 days, because maybe even after 90 days, the money doesn't come into Nigeria. Oh, okay, former leader.
President, this issue, like distinguished Senator Yusuf has said, I knew that in the last Senate, we had a committee with him and distinguished Senator Olamileko, and we explored all these issues, particularly some of the companies in the oil companies and the other things, what we are looking for revenue. Now, we did this. The law specified for 90 days from the bill of lading. Now, what happens is that they can put credit, you can see the credit coming in half of those companies. But then there is another one-way street on the other side, whereby by the time they're coming in, before it makes any impact on the economy or on the other thing, they will come in from the back door and transfer the money in another way. So the impact of that is very, very limited. Particularly, I think it relates, to companies that claim to be making some money out of purchase of either raw materials or some other expenses. They will put the expenses. What I'm saying here, sir, is that there is a need for this committee and maybe related committees to really look down and inspect the law properly, so that the kind of support that we are giving to exporters, the country will not be a double loser. We give subsidy, but at the end of the day, we don't get the benefit for the subsidy that we have given. The amount of money here is so humongous, so huge. And some of the companies here are huge companies like Indorama and some of the major groups that So we have to be very, very, very careful of this export expansion grant. So I will recommend the committee to, for this Senate, to really inspect the current legislation, and ensure that the country gets value, for the resources that we are expanding in this kind of grant. Otherwise, this grant is another giveaway, for which we don't get much benefit from. But I support the initiative. It is in good taste, but, we have to be very careful. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think that's the point I was trying to make. We pay this. I'm coming, please. We pay this huge money to exporters, and the idea is help them, help the country. Today, Nigeria needs foreign exchange more than at any time, and therefore, if there is a repatriation or whatever it is of what our companies earn outside, that will help in making forex available in the country and maybe stabilize our economy. So I agree with Senator Abdullahi that our Committee on Trade and Investment, I don't know if there is going to be another one, should look at the law. Where are the weak points that companies are exploiting? Because it will be a double jeopardy. You give them these billions, hundreds of billions. Between the 8th and the 9th Senate, it's over $1 trillion for what we approved in the last assembly and this one. So it shouldn't be double jeopardy for government. We should earn something. Yes, Senator Abiru.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, once again. I'd like to refer you to page 5 of this report, and it speaks to documentation. So what I'm trying to say is that for the beneficiaries that you have here, it is not likely that they will not repatriate, because all the process that they have to go through to qualify for this EEG are well stated, including repatriation. That is point 5 on documentation. On page 5, if you look at, there's various stages from the NXPs and the various scrutiny that they will have to go through. And I think the chairman of the committee will have seen that report, because the CBN, all those agencies of government are involved before it gets to this level. So the jeopardy is not likely to be in place. That's what I just want. I want to allay that first.
Yeah, I think the issue is not repatriation. Repatriation in time is very important. Repatriation in time, because if it is 90 days, are we getting the repatriation in 90 days? If so, okay. If someone does not, a company does not repatriate in 90 days, maybe it finds its way through some means and keep the money somewhere, after a year, maybe 300 days before the money comes in. That is not the kind of repatriation we are looking for. Anyway, I don't think we have to debate this, but the committee should do something about it. Yes, last one.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think just in this week past, there was a declaration of the amount being repatriated of 4.something billion. So 4.7 being repatriated. So I think for us to have clarity on this, why not ask the committee to give us a feedback in terms of the volume of repatriation within this period? At least to show that, yes, this is actually working to allay our fear. I don't think it's out of place for us to know.
Very much. Senate Leader. Senate Leader.
Okay. You say what? No, we have done that. We have done everything. Why are you not here? The eighth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on the Federal Medical Center of Bupa, Nsukka, Enugu State, Establishment Bill 2022, SB 599. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 2nd March 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Oloribe Yahya Ibrahim, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahya Oloribe.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibrahim Yahya Oloribe. I represent Kwara Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on the Federal Medical Center of Bupa and Nsukka, Enugu State, Establishment Bill 2022, SB 599. I so move, Mr. President.
I need a seconder. Senator Bello Mandia, Katana South.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Bello Mandia, I represent Katana South. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by Senator Ibrahim Yahya Oloribe. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Health on the Federal Medical Center of Bupa, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, you may lay the report, please. Chairman, you may present the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate at its sitting on Tuesday, the 8th day of February 2022, read for the second time the bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center of Bupa and Nsukka, Enugu State, and for other matters related thereto, SB 599, and refers him to the committee for further consideration. The bill, sponsored by distinguished Senator Chukwuka Utazi, seeks to provide a legal backing for the establishment of the Federal Medical Center in Bupa, Nsukka, Enugu State, and equip and maintain and operate the facility so as to provide services for diagnosis, rehabilitation, and treatment in medicine. Mr. President, I will move to observations on page 2, sir. Mr. President, from presentations at the public hearing and memorandum submitted, the bill received overwhelming support for the establishment of a Federal Medical Center in Bupa and Nsukka to bring health care closer to the residents. It will, among other things, bridge the gap in living standard of health, tackled the problem of overcrowding witnessed in existing primary and secondary health services in the area, and create access to healthcare for the people of Obukpa who are in dire need of adequate healthcare facilities. When established, the facility will also provide tertiary healthcare services for the people of Obukpa and surrounding communities and visitors. Recommendation, Mr. President. After a clause-by-clause consideration of the bill, which is made up of 28 clauses, a schedule, and an explanatory memorandum, the committee recommends as follows. The amended clause were clause 1 to 5, 7, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17, 22, 23, 27, and 28, as well as the schedule and the explanatory memorandum. The committee deleted one clause, that's clause 8b, and renumbered the clause 8b. The committee retained 8 clauses, 6, 11, 13, 15, 18, 21, and 24, and 26. In conclusion, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the committee would like to thank the Senate President, the Senate leadership, and all our distinguished colleagues for the opportunity given to us to serve in this capacity. I so submit, Mr. President.
Any comments? Leader, Committee of the Whole.
I move that the Senate do resolve to the Committee of the Whole.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider this report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against, say nay. This is a standard bill for establishment of a medical center. Those in favor that clause 1 to 5 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against, any, the ayes have it. Clause 6 is on page 4. Allowances of members. Those in favor that clause 6 to 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 11 is on page 8. Those who are at clause 11 to 15 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 16, annual estimates and expenditure on page 11. Those who are at clause 16 to 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Clause 21, discipline of students on page 13. Those who are at clause 21 to 26 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the interpretation on page 21 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the schedule on page 22 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those in favor of the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, Clerk.
Revert to plenary for the chair to report progress.
Leader.
I rise to second the motion that the Senate revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the report of the Committee on Health on the Federal Medical Center of Bukpa, Nsukka, Enugu State, Essential Bill 2022, and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 26 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that this bill be read the third time. I so move.
Kachim. Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this bill be now read a third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the bill be read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center of Bukpa, Nsukka, Enugu State, and for related matters 2022, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal Medical Center of Bukpa, Nsukka, Enugu State, and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the ninth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters on the administration of criminal justice, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022, SB 920. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 21st June 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, representing Ekiti Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters on the Administration of Criminal Justice Act Amendment Bill 2022, SB 920. Mr. President, I so move.
I need a seconder. Distinguished Senator Kabir Barkia, Katsina Central.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to second the motion moved by Senator Bamidele. I so second. Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters on the Administration of Criminal Justice Act Amendment Bill 2022, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, may I lead the report, please. You can present the report.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters on a bill for an act to repeal the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 and enact the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2022 to, among other things, provide for the establishment of Administration of Criminal Justice Monitoring Council for effective and efficient administration of justice in Nigeria and for related matters, SB 920. The Senate, at its plenary sitting on Tuesday, 21st June 2022, debated extensively on the general principles of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022. Accordingly, the bill was read for the second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters for further legislative action. In retrospect, Mr. President, the bill was read for the first time on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday, 2nd February 2022. It was sponsored by distinguished Senator Okejev Emmanuel, representing Benue Northwest Senatorial District. It is instructive to also note that the issues raised in the amendment proposed by the Administration of Criminal Justice Act Amendment Bill 2021, SB 465, sponsored by Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, which was earlier referred to the committee, were sufficiently addressed under this bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, because of our time and considering that everyone has a copy of this report, I am moving to page 8 to talk about our findings. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, having carefully analyzed the presentations and submissions made during the public hearing, our committee hereby makes the following observations and findings. 1, that stakeholders unanimously supported the passage of the bill in view of its strategic relevance to the reform in the justice sector, as it is one of the policy thrusts of this administration. 2, that to entrench the culture of efficient, and effective criminal justice service delivery in Nigeria, and to improve outcomes through active partnership, it is imperative that the extant act be holistically reviewed with a view to making all-encompassing provisions targeted at addressing all the inherent challenges in the course of its implementation with respect to some judicial pronouncements on the subject matter. 3, that the establishment of the Administration of Criminal Justice Monitoring Council is in line with what is obtainable in other jurisdictions, especially the United States of America, where there is Bureau of Justice and Criminal Justice Board, and also in the United Kingdom, and etc. 4, that the contemplation for the establishment of the council should not be perceived as a new statutory body, as there is in existence the Administration of Criminal Justice Monitoring Committee established pursuant to this extant act and founded through the Federal Ministry of Justice. The legislative intent of this bill, Mr. President, is merely to substitute the word committee with the word council. This is to ensure operational efficiency of the Administration of Criminal Justice Committee and enable it to access its capital funding